Alright, welcome back. Hope you're having a good day. I'm going to do some time-lapse stuff with my Laurel oaks here. It is February 14th. This is one I picked up a couple weeks ago on clearance. Go ahead and knock that guy out and that guy out. Just a couple little sucker branches I'm going to take out even before I start talking. But like I said, picked it up a couple weeks ago, and it was a clearance tree. You can see here a fresh chop here. I'm going to guess that whatever they had going on up here could have got some storm damage, could have had some insect damage. This bark is peeling off just a little bit. There have been any sorts of number of things that made them decide. I'm going to guess it was several $100s too, because that's a good sized trunk. But they chopped it off. It got a big sprout coming out of this side here. It actually has, you guys might be able to see there's two sprouts coming out of that side there. But I'm going to bring the one that I've had a few years in here in a second. And I just wanted to kind of show this one off actually. I usually, this one you're going to see has much more spring growth than the other one does. This one sits in much more sun, plus it had just had all this work done to it by the nursery there. But I usually let the first flush of leaves go until about late May, early June or so, and then just give it a partial defoliation. It'll get a second growth and kind of ramify really nicely, considering that, you know, this thing just had this fresh chop and everything, and already has a nice little canopy on there and everything. So instead of partially defoliating, you know, my vision is in May or, you know, early June, I'll go ahead and just kind of prune it off some, and maybe try to see if I can't just look in there and see any, you know, kind of weird growth or anything I'd want to get rid of. But for now, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to even cut that. That's right above one of the apexes. There's quite a bit of growth over here on top of the other one right over in here. Alright, and here's the one I've had for a while. Just starting to get some bud swell. Kind of amazing how that trunk of that other one is so much bigger than this one, but this one just really is so much more developed looking and even older looking in the trunk than that other one, even considering the size of it. Must have really been allowed to take off at some point, that other one. But this one is just starting to get bud swell. I mean, every tree is going to kind of grow at its own little pace, and again, you can see the different stages of trees. But I also have I've been putting this one in an area where it gets a ton of summer sun and almost no winter sun. And I just kind of figure, since, you know, it's an oak growing here in the south, it can just go ahead, you know, and use that shade in the summer, or I'm sorry, in the winter, and allow it to go dormant, and then it gets all that sun in the summer. And it actually turns out to be a really hot area of the yard in the summer, and then a very cool area of the yard in the winter. Some bud swell there. These are all new leaves. So this has, you know, it has held on to a lot of these older leaves all winter, and it's got all this bud swell going on now. So I keep starting my thought but not finishing it. I'm just helping it off with the rest of the leaves. And since I'm going to have it kind of naked, if you will, for a minute, and go ahead and just prune off some extra stuff. Alright, and we'll just hang on to this guy. Take a look at it probably late May, early June. Give it that partial defoliation. Alright, and it is time for an update on this tree here. Sure, I mentioned in the beginning of the video, usually after they get their first flush leaves, comes really big, get some crazy shoots out there and everything too. After they get their first flush, usually come and do a partial defoliation. That's what I'm going to do today. I'll also get some of these super long ones out of here. And then just hang on to this video and come back and update in about a month when it starts getting its smaller leaves back in. The first part of the video I kind of came through, tried to do some real detailed pruning. So this is just, right now I'll go around first and just try to, you know, keep the canopy in line. Try to keep it looking presentable. And that gives it a little bit of a better shape there. But then I'm going to go through, like I said, that first flush. Get some really big leaves on there. And these will get a second flush. So basically I'm just going to try to pull most of the ones that I noticed that are really big. And I noticed in the past years, just in the effort of trying to, you know, make this not a big long process or anything. Just trying to kind of search out the biggest leaves. And then if you just kind of pull them to a head like that and cut half of them off. Again, the tree just kind of, you know, now not be collecting as much energy as it was collecting. And so it'll respond by just pushing out a bunch more smaller leaves. Alright, and that'll probably do it for today. I'm sure I did mention in the other video too, I've had an idea for a while that this branch here is dead. It's actually a secondary branch coming off of this one, and it got no buds on it, so I'm sure it's a goner. I was leaving part of that on there because I wasn't sure. Yeah. Alright, and here we are towards the end of April. It's got the second flush of slightly smaller leaves. Also, few shoots that I'm not going to keep here. In the past, every time I got that second flush, I never would trim it. But I still do think it's just kind of adjusting to life in the new pot. I would like to take advantage of a lot of this new growth and keep it, allow it to bush out a little bit more, become a little bit more dense. But I do want to get some of these stray ones, a little bit of some of the straight up growth off of the, especially the lower main branches here. Alright, now let it just be a tree for the rest of the summer or fall. Next, late next winter again, as the beginning of this video. Once I see it start to bud out a little bit, probably clean it up a little bit more. And basically do the same thing again next year. Alright, and in March, I decided I didn't want to do the partial defoliation on this larger one here. Some kind of a web right here. I'm going to get that guy out. But since I did let it, I've just let it go basically since I've got it at the very beginning of this video. I am just going to kind of keep the profile in here tight. Hate to use the word hedge it off a little bit, but I am just going to hedge it off some. Try to keep some of these longer shoots in check, and then I think the very last thing is there are now two main trunks. This one coming out of the, you have the big chop here, which is obviously that died off. That's why they put it on clearance, I'm sure. And then one trunk going up there and one here. There is one of the branches from this one kind of growing into this one. Gonna try to take that off too. Well, I guess I'm not gonna try to, I will. Trying to be careful to keep a lot of the new growth, just because I do want it to continue growing quite a bit, but just trying to keep it a little more shape without so many long shoots just kind of poking out there. A couple of these branches are crossing just a little bit. Alright, and then it's this branch right here. Just kind of crowding itself a little bit with that other one. That's also clearly the stronger side. And then a couple other branches here. And we'll go ahead and let this guy go through next winter too. See what it looks like.